getting into my favorite NFL DFS Week 19 Saturday Slate core plays. So starting off with the preview, looking at it, the Seahawks are projected to lose by 9.5 points. Okay, and the over and under for that game is not the highest scoring game on the slate. It's actually the second lowest scoring game on the whole slate for the weekend game. So with that, we can kind of just already see two trends that we'd want to do. We'd probably want to play Christian McCaffrey at the running back position and try to fit in the 49ers defense. Now, whether we're able to do that or not, we will see. And then just looking at this game between the Chargers and the Jaguars for this Saturday slate, we can see that's going to be a much closer game. And the points are 47.5, which is going to be the second highest scoring projected game this weekend. So that kind of tells us that we want to favor that game more for DFS purposes, because basically it's saying there's almost going to be another touchdown scored in that game. Starting at the quarterback position, this is going to be the most difficult part of this slate. Honestly, it's just very tough to really nail down which one we should be on exactly. So when we look at Justin Herbert, we can see like both very good and very bad. It's weird. So like DFS wise, 18 DK points, not good enough. 16 DK points, not good enough. 7, not good. 13, terrible. Okay, so like his last 4 games have not really been good, but let's look at it, guys. 18 against Denver, that is really good. Okay, Denver had been a great defense this whole season. Look at against the Rams, that game was a blowout and he was still able to get 16.7 DK points, through 2 touchdowns. They just didn't need him to play them. Indy was a bad game. Okay, not a game you would really expect him to play well against. And then Tennessee was the biggest shocker. Prior to that, had been playing some great football. The biggest worry that we have with Herbert is the fact that Mike Williams is out. But I will say, it makes a lot of logical sense that if you don't play Justin Herbert at the quarterback position, you are pretty much betting that Austin Eckler is going to be the one scoring touchdown. Okay, we can kind of see in the games in which Herbert struggled recently, the last against the Rams, against Indy, and against Tennessee, Austin Eckler was the one that benefited from that. So the chances are this offense is going to do well as a whole. It's just we are really just betting on, will it be Austin Eckler or Keenan Allen? Now, I will say they can both coexist. Maybe Eckler gets a passing touchdown with Mike Williams out. Like he could get a few more targets his way, and maybe they both double dips a little bit there. So from there, we get into Trevor Lawrence. And I think we can all admit that Trevor Lawrence has just been way too inconsistent to trust as a quarterback. And he's really been frustrating just to watch because it's all there. We saw it come together for a portion of a few games in which he really went off, but it's never like been fully there just yet. Close. And for the most part, like every quarterback has a couple of bad throws per game. But lately, Trevor has struggled against Tennessee, 11.2 DK points against Houston, which it's Houston. They've been actually pretty good DFS wise against quarterbacks, only 5. Okay. The one intriguing thing is that against the Jets, and this is mostly due to a rushing touchdown, had 19 DK points. So it's a very mixed bag for Trevor Lawrence, and it's definitely not something that I would say is guaranteed. Definitely not locked into that production. I will say it is encouraging that, and this is week 3, teams are different, but in week 3, he did go for 25 DK points against the Chargers. So we can see that like already with Justin Herbert, we're trying to get lucky and bet on him getting the touchdowns more so than Austin Eckler. With Trevor Lawrence, we don't really know what we're going to get, okay? It's tough to say. And so like I like them both, and I would say Trevor Lawrence probably going to be the GPP play. He has a good ceiling, but it is still risky. Looking at Geno Smith. Geno Smith maybe been the safest and would be the safest play this week. One bad start this season, and that was against the Niners in week 2. So that's the unfortunate side of it. But we do see against the Niners in week 15, went for 15 DK points. And so at that point, like, yes, we established should be a safe kind of floor play. But at that point, why not just take the risk with Trevor Lawrence? Sure, he might give you 11 points, but he gives you the upside to randomly get 30 DK, 25 DK points. At $100 more, I would say that is the logical approach. At the same time, I think I might just end up punting to Brock Purdy. And this is due to 2 things. 1, he's the lowest priced quarterback. 2 is definitely going to be the game/matchup, okay? Looking at it, he had 16.48 DK points against the Seahawks earlier this season. Okay, we already saw that this game is projected to be more of a blowout. And so they're saying that, yes, Christian McCaffrey probably going to be the play, but at the same time, Purdy has scored 2 touchdowns in every single game thus far. That is a very nice safe floor as well. And, he has been impressive. Now, sure, he went against Las Vegas the last 2 games, but still was productive in those games. And against tougher matchups, Tampa Bay, Seahawks, Washington, was productive in those games as well. So for me right now, as it sits, I think it makes the most logical sense to go with Purdy at quarterback. And I will say that scares me a lot. It probably scares you guys as well. And that's why the quarterback position is the most difficult part of this slate. So because of that, moving into running backs, like we already established that CMC is going to basically be a lock play, I would say. Even in a game last week in which he played limited amount of snaps, he was still able to score 16.9 DK points. Obviously, that's really good. You really like that there from him. And looking at the previous game against the Seahawks, went for 28.8 DK points. Okay, he did have 6 receptions and 8 targets in that game. And with Deebo Samuel back, I kind of expect his role in the passing game to be reduced a little bit to more of what we saw last week. But still, that could be good enough. I think we are going to be locking in, let's say, 15 DK points and really the upside to go for 30. He is kind of the standout play, especially considering how Vegas views the game as well. From there, Austin Eckler, I already mentioned, if I'm not playing Justin Herbert at the quarterback position, I'm playing Austin Eckler. It's as simple as that because I'm betting on Austin Eckler getting, at least 1 rushing touchdown, but possibly even 2, That's what I'm betting on. I'm betting on it being Austin Eckler at the goal line rather than Justin Herbert at the goal line. And I think that's going to be more likely with someone like Mike Williams out. I think they're going to try to rush the ball with Eckler a little bit more. So I'm not going to say that Travis Etienne's a bad play. Okay. He is a risky play. He is a GPP only play. He is an upside play. He is not someone that I trust. He is someone that just last 2 games not getting enough work. And obviously against Houston, didn't need to. Against Tennessee, that was a tough matchup. And so it's no surprise that they went away from him. But it does scare me. And the thing with the Chargers is we know their weakness is in the rushing game. Like it makes a lot of logical sense to go with Etienne. My thought process is that people probably will do that. They'll go CMC, Eckler, and probably Etienne, load up on the 3 running backs. So kind of because of that, I actually don't mind the idea of going with Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker played in 80% of the snaps last week and looked really good. Obviously, that was a must-win game for them. And now he's went for 100 rushing yards in 3 straight games. But what's significant about that? He did against the Jets, who we know the Jets are a great defense, and he did against the Kansas City Chiefs. But he did against the Kansas City Chiefs in a game in which they were getting blown out in. So 3 straight games of over 100 rushing attempts in 2 of the 3 games you really wouldn't have expected him to. I know the matchup with the Niners is very difficult, okay? Toughest matchup this week for NFL DFS. We don't like that part, but he did go for 12 DK points against them last game. Did get work in the passing game. And remember, he was pretty banged up in that game. He is much more healthy now. I think it is risky, but it's a great leverage. But I think he's going to be more undervalued on this slate than he should be. And for what it's worth, I don't mind Elijah Mitchell as like a sneaky play. If that game is going to be a blowout, you could see him being a decent play as well. So by now, you guys know my rule. Is Keenan Allen on the slate? Yes, then I'm playing him. It's as simple as that. Just been a stud thus far this season. Even against Denver, a difficult matchup, really went off for 33 DK points. With Mike Williams out, the targets are going to be more secure, and they've already been there. Like, I don't even need to say that. Like, the targets should be there. The receptions should be there. His over and under receptions is set at 6.5. So if we can get, or let's just say 6.5 receptions, that's huge. I mean, that's a nice floor as is. So he is a play that I just think makes a lot of sense. And Ben just so consistent. Really, the only game in which he was bad at was the game in which he played like 30% of the snaps. Besides that, been really good. And so the biggest decision maker at the receiver position this week is going to be deciding between what to do with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. So Tyler Lockett has been the more productive player against San Francisco. Looking at DK Metcalf against them, 9 targets, 12.5 DK points. In week 1, 6 targets, 7.5 DK points. And tack on the fact that Tyler Lockett is a little bit cheaper, I think he's the much more appealing play. Okay, 9 targets in week 15, 13.8 DK points. And then against the Niners in week 2. And it's week 2, guys. The teams are so different now. He went for 100 receiving yards and had 22.7 DK points. So I would say if we're choosing between those two, I would be choosing Tyler Lockett. The issue we are getting on this slate with the Mike Williams news is that Josh Palmer now is kind of a play in which I think we might be forced into trying to make, which I don't particularly love, but he should be a floor play. Like if he gets 10 DK points, then that's kind of what I'm expecting is him to get around 10 DK points. Like he should get 6 to 7 targets now. And remember, when Keenan Allen was out, he was kind of the guy for a little bit there. And he's impressive. He's a good player. So at 5.3, I just think it's too cheap for a guy that's most likely going to get 6 targets, most likely going to get 10 DK points. I feel like we need to be playing him, which I kind of, when I started this week, I thought I was going to be playing Tyler Lockett. And I will say there is another receiver that was really catching my eye, just given the price tag. And that's going to be Marvin Jones Jr. Okay, it's just a strange price point. And Zay Jones is actually pretty cheap as well for a guy that we have seen consistently like break a slate. They are both good GPP plays, but this price point of Marvin Jones at 3.4 is so interesting. He's a guy that has been seeing around 75% of the snaps, and the targets have been there basically every game. Okay, it's really just, is Trevor Lawrence going to play well or not? Can he get the ball to his receivers? Okay, and that's why you're seeing some like really strong floor games from Zay Jones and from Christian Kirk so that Trevor Lawrence can get the ball out to them fast. It's more for Marvin Jones where he's a more down the field target that has been struggling. But at the same time, we are getting cheap targets, cheap snap counts, and cheap DFS points. Okay, like we could be getting 5 DK points. I know that's not a lot, but on a 2-game slate, it kind of is, with the upside to go for 12 and maybe 20. You know, if he really goes out and breaks the slate. At the price tag, it just feels like the correct move. So I would say if we are playing Brock Purdy at the quarterback, then you just have to play George Kittle at the tight end position. It's as simple as that. We have seen George Kittle score a touchdown now in 4 straight games, okay? And that really started against the Seattle game, in which obviously Seattle is terrible against tight end. 2 touchdowns in that game, 25 DK points, okay? And this is where I think we should be going. If we're playing Purdy, we just need to play George Kittle. Now, let's say, obviously, we don't have enough salary right now. We have to make a decision. There is another tight end play that I like, and we could potentially do 2 tight ends as well, okay? And I don't know if I like it just yet, but Colby Parkinson has played more snaps than Fant the last 2 weeks, and he played in 75% of the snaps last week, okay? We saw him get 7 targets and 3 targets, scoring 6.7 and 14.6 DK points. And now, that is 3 straight weeks in which he is, 3x at this price tag, or close to that, 2x, let's just, for safe, on average, whatever. He is a very cheap floor play. It is tough not to like him at 2.5 if you are just trying to find value at the tight end spot and not take a 0, which has been my strategy really this whole season. And so he is a play that makes a lot of sense. The question is, do you want to play Kittle and him, or do you want to play him and fade Kittle? And if you're fading Kittle, probably would want to find a different quarterback to play as well. So maybe you don't want to play Kenneth Walker then, and this is where you could play Parkinson, and then you have a lot of salary left over. You could still play 49ers defense. So we can see we are fading the Seahawks in favor of stacking the Niners, who are projected to win. And then we're getting the rest of our exposure, except for Parkinson there, to the Chargers. But the issue is it's 2 Chargers pass catchers, okay? So and really Keenan Allen or Austin Eckler is kind of one as well. So this is the lineup that I've ended up on, but let's just do one quick pivot. So this is kind of a different approach to it. Let's say instead of playing Purdy at quarterback, you're saying, okay, the Niners are still going to win, but I think it's going to be a lot of rushing touchdowns. Okay, the logic behind it is Christian McCaffrey would be the play. They get up pretty decently, and then Elijah Mitchell gets in, and you're banking on Mitchell scoring a touchdown as well. I don't like this lineup as much. It still does have logic behind it, though. It still is a decent build. And obviously, there's going to be a bunch of different little lineup decisions you can make. It's for you guys to decide. I'm just trying to give you guys the information to succeed. Obviously, it's a 2-game slate. We do have to be a little bit unique and figure out kind of the lineup approach in that sense. But hopefully, you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, you know what to do. Give a like and subscribe. That helps me continue to be able to put more content out for you guys. All right, let's have a good slate. And as always, let's keep cashing.